All right, welcome back to week 10 of the DSR channel. And I just got access to the new book, Astarion's Book of Hungers, today. So exciting. We're going over the whole thing today. And like I said in the last video, the art is excellent. Just really great stuff, very flavorful, inspiring. Great for getting you inspired about different campaigns and playing a Dampier. So let's get into the backgrounds here. We're going over backgrounds and the origin feats. So first up, Carouser. For whatever reason, vampires like to party, and so this is super thematic, right? You can increase your dexterity, intelligence, and charisma scores. You get a new origin feat called Tireless Reveler, which I'll go over. You get the skill proficiencies Deception and Persuasion, and tool proficiency one gaming set. Makes sense. And here's the flavor text. You grew to adulthood in the beating heart of a large city such as Baldur's Gate. You spent countless evenings in taverns, playhouses, parlors, and gambling dens, savoring all that the city had to offer. You're a natural at interacting with people to learn their secrets, whether over a high stakes game or at a high class soiree. You might have been thrown out of an establishment or 10, but only by people who don't know how to party. Good stuff. The Tireless Reveler Origin feat. When an ally you can see within 60 feet of yourself expends a heroic inspiration, you can gain heroic inspiration if you lack it. Cool. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a short or long rest. So if you have a human companion, you can now just gain heroic inspiration when they get their human heroic inspiration. If you have a high level champion fighter in your party who just gets inspiration at the start of every turn, you just get heroic inspiration at the start of each of your turns as well. Awesome. Okay, you're limited on proficiency bonus number of times per short rest, though. So if you're high level, I guess it's only 6 times per short rest, which is awesome. This is a good one. This is a great package, flavorful, very cool, very fun. I like it. Vampire Devotee. I think another option for this one would be calling it like a vampire familiar, like Renfield, that movie, if you saw that with Nicolas Cage. Pretty good show. Movie, I guess you'd say. So this one also very thematic for the concept. You can increase your ability scores in strength, constitution, or charisma. Yeah, it makes sense. You get a new origin feat called Vampire's Plaything. It's better than you think. You get skill proficiencies in persuasion and stealth, and a tool proficiency in cook's utensils. I guess you're cooking for your vampire, which makes no sense because they don't eat regular food, right? They suck blood or have other forms of draining life. So I guess it makes sense from being a server, to your vampire, but doesn't make sense from what you're serving them. Oh well. Uh, I still like cook's utensils. That's a great tool to have. The flavor text. You are in service to a vampire or a small group of vampires layering together. The undead drink your blood more times than you can count. You might have served willingly, perhaps with aspirations of one day becoming a vampire yourself, or you might have been magically charmed and retain only a few muddled memories of your time as a vampire familiar. In either case, your time in the vampire den is over. And here's the origin feat, Vampire's Plaything. So first up, you get decanting. When you finish a long rest, you can create a potion of healing or an antitoxin, as long as you have an empty vial or flask. These liquids evaporate when you finish another long rest. So one free potion of healing per day. Uh, Certainly better at low levels than high levels, but never a bad thing. Like you can always use 2d4 plus 2 hit points in the middle of combat, right? That's great. Timely retreat. You can take a bonus action to take the dash action or the disengage action. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you recover all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So I think that's huge, right? All of a sudden, it's just way more accessible for anybody to be a skirmisher, right? Without having to use a reach weapon or push mastery or other shenanigans like that. You can just take this and just disengage as you're running in and out, right? And you get dash and disengage, which are both of the free bonus actions that monks get. Now you can't spend a key focus point to upgrade them to get additional effects, but you get the base function of basically the monk's martial arts minus the option for an unarmed strike. Uh, Pretty cool, like pretty powerful, I think. I like that. I think that's great. And in Vampire Connection, this one is really just a ribbon. So the DM determines the fate of your former vampire master. While you and your former vampire master are on the same plane of existence, the vampire can communicate with you telepathically, and you can choose to allow the vampire to perceive through your senses. So really a storyline kind of thing. All right. But could be fun. Work with your DM. And we get quotes from Astarion, which are awesome, right? Astarion, what a great character! And by the way, the actor during his live play D&D shows is even better than Astarion, right? That guy is hilarious. So here's the quote. You might ask, I'm going to try to do the accent. You might ask, are these tricks best for fighting or for seduction? I say, my darlings, why not both? Classic Astarion. Come on. All right. Good stuff. And the last of our three backgrounds is Vampire Survivor. You can increase your dexterity, constitution, or wisdom. You gain the new feat Vampire Hunter. Not as cool as it sounds, unfortunately. Skill proficiencies, insight and religion, and tool proficiency, woodcarver's tools. I don't. Well, I guess you're gonna, whittle a stake to stake them. I guess that's why you have woodcarvers. Okay, that's the joke. It's a joke. Great, I got it. Thanks. Uh, Flavor text. You witnessed or survived a vampire attack. You might have been directly involved in this confrontation, or perhaps you were frozen in terror by what you saw. Regardless, you remain vigilant for monster attacks and pride yourself on being ready for anything. No vampire will catch you or your allies by surprise again. Good flavor text. Here's the feat Vampire Hunter. You gain the following benefits: Adroit Escape. You have advantage on checks to escape from non magical restraints or the grappled condition. That feels like a joke again. Right? Kind of, I guess, because that is important when you're facing a vampire, because they can, when they hit you with their like claw attack or unarmed strike, whatever it's called, their hand attack, they deal damage and can grapple you automatically. And if they have you grappled, then they can bite you like as an additional attack without even taking another bonus action. They get another additional free bite attack if you're grappled. And the bite attack like drains, you take necrotic damage and your maximum hit points go down, things like that. So the bite attack is really bad. So yeah, nice to be able to escape their grapple, but not very powerful. You're not grappled that often, and most of the time when you're grappled, you're a frontliner and you don't care that you're grappled. You're on the front line anyway. It's like, go ahead. I wasn't going to move, and now you're not either. Wherever you go, I go. So unless you're facing a vampire, not super important, not very good. And the next one, also not very good. Vitality Ward. When you take necrotic damage, you can take a reaction to mitigate the damage. Roll a number of d6s equal to your proficiency bonus, and add them together. Reduce the necrotic damage by this total. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. So I don't know what happened here. They were on a roll with these, pretty good. Okay, there is a background in Planescape that gives you necrotic resistance, which would be way better than this, right? That's always on and always cuts the damage in half, which is way more than you're going to get out of this. Even at like high levels, you get, your tier 4, you've got, your proficiency bonus is 6, and so now you can, roll 66 and reduce the damage by that, which isn't very much. That's 21 damage that you're going to reduce, right? At that level, you might be taking 40, 50, or 60 damage in one attack anyway. And if you had no resistance to that from the necrotic damage, resistant to the necrotic damage, you're cutting that in half. So you're saving 20 or 30. And that's every time you're attacked, right? This is once per short or long rest. So unfortunately, they blew it on this one on the mechanics. I guess the people who worked on this were the same people who worked on Heroes of Faerun and created the Banneret and the Blade Singer and put them in the same book. All right, I guess that's what we have here. So, all right, which is unfortunate because this, like, Vampire Hunter is the one I think I was most excited for, like being Van Richten or Esmeralda, right? The two most famous vampire hunters in all of D&D. And it's a lame origin feat. That's so unfortunate. But we do get another quote from Astarion, and I'll try the accent again. The streets at night teem with all types, the misguided, the oblivious, the depraved. And then there are the drunken louts, the world-weary lovers, and the harried survivors. I like to think of them as each as a unique vintage. Yeah, I got to work on my nasal. I got to like project through the sinuses to really nail that one. I'll practice that some more, and we'll see if I try it again. But hey, that's a good example of you don't need to be a great voice actor to be a good DM, right? And have a lot of fun, right? If you just do that much, your players are going to love it. Okay, so there you go. That's why I did it. Show you make a fool of myself so you have an example of that's as much as you need to be a great DM. Don't worry about great accents. Trying even a little bit is going to be awesome for your players. Okay. All right, and that's all we got for this book. Or sorry, for this the backgrounds and origin feats. And I'll do the video on the general feats next. There's quite a few.